Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Laurie Smith on Blog Talk Radio. Good evening. It is 10 o'clock p.m. here, Calgary, Alberta, Saturday night, May the 11th, and I'm glad to be here. And this is show number 1,000. Yeah, that's a lot of shows. I just thank everybody for taking the time to tune in and listen to my shows. I have a lot of people who've tuned in, and just about almost 50,000 people have listened to my shows at some point. It's a number, could be the same people listening to multiple shows or whatever, but I've had a lot of people tune into my shows, and I really appreciate it. My goal when I started was just to be one more voice out here with people who are speaking out against what I consider to be pure evil, child abuse, human rights abuses. There's just since time began, this has just been a huge problem, and it is our problem. It's everyone's problem. It affects everyone in some way. So even if a person isn't abused, will definitely have effects on everyone's lives because of it. And it's just, if we don't speak out against what is wrong, then we're basically saying it's okay. And that's why I wanted to be one more voice out here with everybody else to say, you know what, no, it's wrong. I don't mind standing up for what's right. I don't mind standing up and saying, you know what, we have to stop these things. We have to work towards a solution, And people say, well, how can you do that? How can you control what people do? And I think education is a huge, huge part of it. And as well as we need more services and more support for those who are out here working with people who are possible candidates to abuse their children and people who are struggling in whatever way. We could go through the whole gamut of the issues that plague parents and people who are raising children, and any number of things can be, part of the cause and the root of the cause of why someone would abuse a child. And we all know that adults abuse other adults too, but it's this issue of child abuse that just sits really heavy on my heart because it's completely unnecessary. And it's all, to me, it's just a heinous, evil act. It's not right. And yet society says, oh, no, it's okay. It's just discipline. Because if society thinks about abuse as discipline, then they don't have to feel bad about it. They don't have to think about it. They don't have to worry about it. Oh, it's just discipline. And you think about these horrible things that go on and around the world, not just North America. And most people think, well, if the problem's too big, so there's nothing I can do, to make a difference in this thing. And actually, it is going to take all of us to change this. And it's not, we can't rely on one small group of people to fix this thing. That's why, years ago, back in, before I started doing Blog Talk Radio, probably, I would say 2008, I decided to start getting involved with international community development, and then shortly after that started doing this show. And I was really looking into the situation mainly in Afghanistan with women and children, because they are so, their lives are just cut short so often, and they have no rights whatsoever. And the children, at least the boys, have more rights than the women and the girls, but it's just such an area of backwardness, in the planet, on this earth. And I'm just like, why? It's like, when I started doing this stuff, it was in 2008, and I was thinking, in 2008, what is going on? Why is this still happening? And growing up the way that I did, I felt that it wasn't necessarily a duty, but I felt that I had enough firsthand knowledge of what abuse does to families, what abuse does to children, just firsthand, that I could speak about this stuff with authority, which I can, and so I do. Abuse is a horrible, horrible thing, and it doesn't matter whether it's child abuse or domestic abuse or, it's just a bad, bad thing. And yeah, it just goes on all the time, and I sit here and I think about what's going on in these people's hearts, what's going on in these people's minds to be able to do these things. They're very sick. They're very sick. People who would hurt another individual, whether it's as an adult or a child, is very sick. There's something wrong with them. But our society thinks it's okay. As a matter of fact, we create movies as entertainment and sit back and watch violence on TV, and we love it. I don't watch violent movies. I grew up in a violent home getting my head smashed into walls, so I don't watch violent movies. You know, I watched my family be destroyed by violence and abuse, and so for me, watching a violent movie is just like, it's not entertainment. To me, it's just garbage. And so, you know, we got to be, I mean, as a society, we got to be a little bit more intelligent than that. But sadly enough, we're not. And I mean, you think about this last week here with this information coming out on about those 3 girls who were kidnapped and considered missing persons, quote unquote, for so long. You know, people passing around their info on the Facebook and all the different, you know, social networking sites, and you think about the evil in those people's hearts who could do that to those 3 girls. And this goes on day after day after day after day. Those are just a few monsters in the world. You know, I mean, there's so many people who do the most horrific things to their children, to their families, and the world sits by and doesn't say anything about it, except for a handful who are speaking out, you know, and who are standing up for what's right and speaking out against what's wrong. And it's important to realize that we all have to get involved. It is going to take everyone to change this. And the sad thing is that most people don't want to invest any time in it because what are you going to do? Most people want money. It's like, well, am I going to get money for it? That's what I've been asked that several times, many times, because I've volunteered with a few groups, and people say, well, how much money do you make doing that? $0. It's not a money-making industry, and it shouldn't be. This is about helping save children's lives. This is about helping change this situation for families. This is not about money. Sadly enough, there are a lot of people probably involved that probably are in it for the money. But you know what? That's just every job position has something like that going on. It doesn't matter what field you're in. There's always going to be somebody in there who's just in there for the money. But for the most part, it's because you care. You know, you think about all the people who donate money to cancer research, you know, and I'm one of them. And, you know, I mean, I've had cancer affect my family. You know, my oldest sister died of cancer. And, you know, cancer, I mean, people will donate lots of money to cancer research. And then there's lots of people that would say, well, you know, these scientists and stuff, they're in it just for the money. I don't think so. You know, maybe there's 1 or 2 in there, but, you know, for the most part, these are people that care. They want to see a cure found to save lives, right? Well, if we had that many people on board to stand up and speak out against child abuse, especially, and domestic violence, and that much money flowing into it, we may see some changes too. But there's very little money that goes anywhere to do any good for this situation. There is money being pumped into it. I mean, if you look at the stats, there's billions of dollars going into this every year because of child abuse. But it's not going to fix and to solve the issues. It's going to pay for the damage and the aftermath of these little children and these abused people. So it doesn't do anything to solve the problem. And it's ridiculous. Who could not notice? Who closes their eyes? Who turns a blind eye to abuse? Many, many, many people do. Because they don't want to get the abuser in trouble. They may know the abuser, the abusive person. They may be a family member. So they don't want to drag their family member down and have them go to prison. So they just allow the abuse to continue. This goes on and on and on. This goes on in homes across the world. I mean, we're not talking just, you know, where I live or in your city or your town. We're talking this is worldwide. People just close a blind eye. You know, nobody says nothing. That's why it's allowed to continue on. You know, I mean, and there's teachers out there that will close a blind eye. They don't want to get involved. There's all kinds of people who know, who can tell that a child's been, maybe even the child's even told them that they're being abused, and they just let it go on, right? And this is really sad. It is. Because nobody wants confrontation or trouble. Thing is that child's life worth something? You better believe it is. And I don't know how people can sleep at night. I really don't. I don't know how people can sleep at night knowing that a child's being abused and not do anything about it, especially a child. It's bad enough for an adult, but I'm concerned about children, really, because they cannot protect themselves, and they need our help, right? So, yeah, what do we do? Well, that's why the world ignores the situation, because it's easier to ignore it. It's easier for everybody to just, oh, well, we don't have to worry about that. It's not me being abused. It's not my kids, so I don't have to worry about it, It's like, yeah, okay. It's pathetic. It really is. It's like, it's just like, it's like me. I mean, any number of charities could phone me for money or for support or whatever, and just because I don't have or don't know anybody who's got that problem or that issue in their life, whatever it may be, diabetes or MS or anything like that, doesn't mean that I'm not going to donate to the cause. It's like, oh, it doesn't affect me, so what do I care about it? That is so many people's attitudes. And just because child abuse may not have affected your life, it will affect 1 in 3 to 4 girls and 1 in 6 to 7 boys' lives. So if you know 7 men, you probably know 1 who's been abused. Maybe they haven't said anything to you. Maybe they'll never tell anybody, but that's the facts. 1 in 3 to 4 girls. 1 in, really, the stats are even lower than that. It's or higher, I guess you would say, like between 5 and 6 boys and 3 to 4 girls. I mean, that's really ridiculous, but it's true. And that's why I did these shows. That's why, this is show number 1,000. If you go back and you scroll through, this is a set of shows, child abuse prevention stuff, and then I did a whole lot of shows on my own personal journey, one child abuse survivor to another, just talking about my own story and what it did to my family and how the struggles that I've had to deal with because of it. And also my other shows, which are mainly about biblical counseling and stuff, but it's all a heart issue. It's all a heart issue. I got down to thinking about what is this whole thing, because I'm a global. I guess I have a large vision. I'm not so much interested in the small, minute, intricate details. I have a sort of an interesting way of looking at things in the broad view, and looking at things on a worldwide scale, and looking at things in that manner. Quite easily to see, this is a huge problem, and it has been since time began. And many cultures, many societies for thousands of years have said, it's okay. Go ahead, kill your children, do whatever you want, kill your wives, kill your husbands, whatever. But, now I think we just need to stop this stupidity. I really do. I think of the stupidity between my parents that caused the destruction of my family. It was complete stupidity is what it was. They decided that they hated each other, and they decided to make life really miserable for all of us. And that was a decision they made, and that's really horrible. And on their deathbed, my mother especially, didn't feel one bit bad about it at all. Because she was a hateful, miserable, narcissistic person. And that's what's wrong with a lot of people, and that's why we have these problems in the world. It's a heart issue. It's like, what is going on in a person's heart that they could do these horrific things? I keep asking, almost on every show, I say the same thing. Like, what is going on? Like, why? Why are people doing these things? I don't understand it. I don't get it. It's a real sickness. Like, it's a disease. Like, people don't really like to think of it like that, but it really is. It's a disease of our society, of our world, of humankind. I call it pure evil, but to me, it's like a disease for which the cure is unknown. How do we get people to stop abusing their children? You can educate somebody all you want, but if they have it in their heart to hurt that child, they're going to. That's evil. I tell you what, that's pure evil. There's nothing you can possibly add to it or take away. That is evil. And it's wrong. So why are we not standing up and talking about this? Why are we not standing up and shouting out about this? There are a huge lot of people that are. I know a lot of them. But there's a whole lot of other people that really don't care. No, because they're too busy, right? So they don't care. And so even if they knew a child was being abused, they wouldn't care because it's not their kid. What are they worried about? You know, and this is why a lot of abuse is allowed to continue on, because there are people, onlookers, who do know that a child's being abused, but yet they don't want to get involved. They may not even want to know about it, so they just close their eyes and you know, think of other things so that they don't have to think of the realities of what's going on around them. Many people live like that, and with rose-colored glasses, and it's really unfortunate. You know, like, I mean, I'm just one person out here with everybody else, and, you know, we all have to take our turn, right? Like, I mean, you know, I'm only on the planet as long as I'm going to be here, and I hope and pray that there will be many, many, many other young people coming along who, you know, growing up and going to school, who will take this fight on and really make a difference, you know, because that's what it's going to take. And, you know, we can all, like, I mean, I can only do so much. I've only got, just like everybody else, a 24-hour day, and just like everybody else, so many resources and so much time. But I'm really hoping that there will be a whole generation worldwide of people, of young people, who will step up to the plate and make a difference, you know. Because these children out here, man, they can't wait. They're going to die, and we're going to lose so many tonight, and the world will. And, I mean, we know the stats pretty well in the States, but we don't really know a lot of the stats around the world because they don't care about children. They just bury them out in the backyard. They don't care. You know, they just kill a child. Oh, well, throw them out in the back. You know, that's just how the world is. We're really quite sick and twisted. But, you know, most of the Western world and the Western cultures, you know, you can get the stats on how many children will die every night because of abuse. But that doesn't include the ones that they don't count as abuse that were abuse. You know, there's many times parents will kill their children or kill their child and say it was an accident. Oh, he fell down the stairs, or, you know, oh, he tripped and fell and hit his head or her head. You know, and it's like, So, you know, some of them are actually not diagnosed and not, you know, really not treated as a crime, but more as an accident, and then that goes on the, you know, on the death certificate that it was not abuse, right? And so this is the thing: how many children die every night that really was abuse but got covered up and covered over, and how many kids out there, you know, are in the hospital because of abuse-related injuries? Lots. We just don't hear about them. We don't hear about even probably, I would say we hear about 1/10, like 1/10. You know, so we might hear about one child out of 10 who's in the hospital due to abuse, right? The majority, you never hear about their stories. You never hear about their stuff in the paper because it only happens if a reporter or a news agency thinks it's worthy of printing or worthy of reporting. And most people don't care. It's like, well, whatever, you know. And so, you know, it's really pathetic. It really is. And how many children who are being removed from their homes right now because of abuse? Not as many as should be. That's what I say. And people say, well, that's wrong. They should be allowed to stay in their home. Yeah, well, if they want to see them dead in about 6 months, maybe that's a good idea. See, because a lot of people don't realize that abusers don't change just because the authorities have been called. My parents didn't change because the authorities have been called. My parents were brought up on child abuse charges. Did it change anything? No. Did they stop abusing us? No. Did they have to go to jail? No. They got away with it. You know, this is what happens to a lot of children. And then there's others that get busted, go to jail, and then have their children, of course, removed from them, right, because they're in jail. So somebody else is now looking after these children if they didn't kill them and they're still alive. And then they'll go to jail, then they'll come out and they'll have some more kids and they'll do the same thing to them. You check the articles out. These are real. I mean, they're people, but I don't even want to call them people. These are monsters. Like, these people shouldn't be allowed to have children. I'm sorry. That's why. Somebody who abuses and or kills, 2 or 3 children, and then goes to jail and comes out and has 2 or 3 more and does the same thing to them, does that not tell us something? Like, no, where's the responsibility? How can you let people say, well, it's their decision, their choice. It's like, no, just put them away for good so that they can't have any more children, right? Why should they be allowed to do that? That's murder. You know how many people murder their children and get off in 5 years, 4 years, 3 years? Lots and lots. They kill their children, and nobody cares. And we have people in prisons for stealing something. They're in there for 15 years for theft. And we have other people murdering their children or sexually abusing their children, and they're in the hospital. They're in jail for what? 2 years, maybe 6 months, 8 months. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's unfair. It's unjust. Where's the justice for these children? Nobody cares about the kids, that's why. You want to know the truth of it? Nobody cares about the children. They really don't. They care about the abusers. They do, because otherwise we wouldn't see stuff like that happening. There would be stiffer penalties and longer sentences and, more serious repercussions. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I don't see how we as people on this planet and on this earth can, day after day, just allow this to happen. And I think it's just because, what do? People are lobbying for tougher, stricter laws and stuff. It's not enough, because our legislation and the people who are in power need to care enough to make the changes. Why should this even be an issue? This shouldn't even be something that's even a problem. It's like, I don't get why it's not. Nobody cares. That's why, right? Nobody cares. They really don't. Because you know why? Because it didn't happen to them. And even people. I mean, I don't know anybody who hasn't been abused who that doesn't affect to the point where when they hear somebody else has been abused, they're like, oh man, because they know what it's like. There's other people who don't care because it doesn't affect them. Or either that or they're sick and twisted, because there's a lot of sick people out there who think it's okay to abuse children. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this problem, right? I mean, if you think about the basic problem, if the whole world thought it wasn't okay to abuse children, then we wouldn't have this problem. But the sad situation is that most of the world thinks it's fine to do whatever you want to children. I mean, I'm talking whatever you want. Physical abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, sexual abuse, whatever. No, it's wrong. And I will always speak out against it. And, it has to come from somewhere inside. Somewhere inside of our conscience, somewhere inside of our hearts that says, oh my God, this is wrong and this is not right. And, I'm going to speak out against this stuff, and I'm going to get involved, with whatever group out there that looks good and looks like they're doing a good job to promote change, There's a lot of great groups out there, and it's a matter, not everybody's got a lot of money to donate, so it doesn't matter. Just get involved, somehow, some way. There's lots of stuff going on. Just got to get involved. It's a matter of just looking around to see what's going on. And look out for the children around you. That's the biggest thing. If you have children, you make sure they're not being abused. And if you know someone who has children, you watch out for those children. Because many times children are being abused right under people's noses, and if they're not paying attention, they're not gonna realize. Abuse is surrounded by manipulation and lies and cover-ups and twisted truths. It's like oh, well, my boy was playing ball and got a black eye, this sort of thing, right? It's just it's a bunch of lies, it's a bunch of manipulation, it's a bunch of garbage. No, abusers aren't going to come out and say, oh, I abused my child, or, oh, yeah, really, man, I really gave it to my kid the other day and killed him, you know what I mean? Nobody's going to admit this stuff because it's a crime. It's not treated as a crime once they go in. Once they go into the system, it's like, oh, a little slap on the wrist. Oh, there you go. You shouldn't kill your children. We'll just give you a couple of years just to make it look good. But, it's pretty pathetic. But it is a crime. And it is punishable by the law. So, people aren't necessarily going to just admit. I mean, all the people that we work with, how many of them do you think abuse their children? More than you know. Why? Because 1 in 3 to 4 girls and 1 in 6 to 7 boys will be abused in some way under the age of 18. That tells you there's a parent out there or a guardian or somebody who was older or there was an abuser out there involved in that child's life, right? Whoever it may be. And actually 99%, no, it is almost 99% actually, is somebody the child knows. But I think the stats were, depends on where you're looking, but I saw one stat that said 85% is a family issue, which is just immediate family, parents, relative, like brother, sister, aunt, uncle, that type of thing. And the other percentage bumps it up would be a family friend, somebody who knows the child, somebody who has access to the child, right? That's who's abusing children. So it's not like the movies with somebody creeping down a dark alley wearing a black cape and a funny hat lurking in the shadows. It's grandma and grandpa, it's mom or dad, it's brother or sister, it's aunt or uncle, it's cousin so and so, it's neighbor down the street, or it's teacher, or it's coach so and so, or it's pastor so and so, or priest so-and-so. You better believe it. And I don't care. I'm going to keep on speaking out. I'm probably going to change the format a little bit. I've done 1,000 shows, in this format. I think I'll probably take some time and change up the format a little bit. But I really appreciate everybody who's taking time to listen, Like these little kids out here, I just pray, there's nothing we can do tonight. And so many will die, right? And so many will be tortured and probably wish they had died. It's absolutely horrific. And we have to care about this situation, right? Like, I think it's wrong to not care. I've had people literally tell me to my face, it doesn't affect me, I don't care about it. And I'm like, so what you're saying is you don't care about me. So what you're saying is you don't care about me. I'm quite vocal about what I do. I've written 3 books, A Life of Death and Redemption, La Vida Juvies, and One Child Abuse Survivor to Another The Journey. And I have pictures out there from my childhood, and I think about me at that age, and I write a lot of my stuff from a young age. And I think, these people don't care about me. And I knew that. And that's why I spent years and years and years trying to find a way out, not caring whether I lived or died. And I think that these little kids out here who don't die because of the abuse and who have to keep going and have to keep going, many of them will be affected. Many of them will lead destroyed lives. Yeah. And we all end up paying the price for that, And there's so many people that just say, oh, well, I don't care. Well, it's like, well, then, you know what? It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. We have to care, right? So, I wish you guys all the best. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I'll do some more shows here soon, figure out some, just another platform, I guess, another way of doing them. And like I said, I appreciate everybody who's taking the time to listen to all of my shows and listen to what I had to say there. And it's been a great encouragement. And just keep on spreading the word. Look out for the children around you. Make as much noise as you can about stopping child abuse. People don't like it. It's very unpopular, and you might lose a lot of friends doing it, but you know what? It's so worth it, right? These little kids' lives mean something. They matter. They do matter, right? And for all the survivors out there, if you're having trouble, you don't ever forget that you matter, and you don't ever forget that you never give up. It's not an option. It's not an option. You keep going. I don't care who you have to call or who you have to talk to. You call somebody, you call a crisis line, but you never, ever give up. Do not let them win this fight. That's what I said. I'm still alive. I'm thankful to God for every moment. And you know what? Keep on fighting and keep on going and do not ever, ever give up, right? Talk to you all real soon. Bye-bye.